Logically, the United States of America would have plenty of cricket enthusiasts and be a strong force within the sport. But it's actually not. The oldest colony of England would be naturally well established within the game, but it's not. America has a very interesting and sad history with the game. It owes to politics, nationalism, war, and special interests. No one would ever think that when they consider the lost and forgotten greatness of American cricket. Cricket itself was first mentioned in the American colonies in Virginia in the year 1709. This is the first documented case, but some sources say perhaps even a bit sooner than this. Americans were playing cricket even before Australia, New Zealand, and South Africa were formerly British colonies. Although the game was mostly played by the American upper class, the game began to be played by the masses, and by the American Revolution, the game was so popular that the troops at Valley Forge played matches to pass the time. George Washington himself joined in at least one game of cricket. John Adams told Congress that if leaders of simple cricket clubs could be called quote-unquote presidents, the leader of the new nation might be called something more grand. Cricket continued to develop slowly as a recreational sport as America gained independence in 1783. After independence, cricket was still enjoyed by the population of America, but it found its highest popularity in the region in and around Pennsylvania and New York. This part of the northeastern United States of America, roughly. However, in the mid-1800s is when cricket began to decline in popularity. One important reason is that Americans consider cricket a relic of British colonialism and the past that the country left behind. With this in mind, the United States of America was torn apart with the Civil War from 1861 through 1865. The British elite favored the Confederacy while the public decided with the Union. Overall, the British had a policy of neutrality, but generally considered acknowledging the Confederacy as a legitimate country. This was another factor that caused the decline in a British sport, while a substitute began to replace it. Baseball, the modern version of the sport, which was considered American and developed in part from cricket and the concept of bat and ball games. With all of the patriotic tones, the cricket clubs in America were actually encouraging the transition to baseball, not knowing that this decision would doom the clubs within America, but the game itself as well. After the Civil War, the Cincinnati Red Stockings, a precursor and distant relation of the Boston Red Sox, brought a talented young bowler from the St. George's Cricket Club in New York to serve as a player and manager of the team. Harry Wright, an Englishman, applied the scientific concepts of batting and specialized placement of fielders that he had learned in cricket to this new sport. This development was critical in creating the Cincinnati team's undefeated 1869 season. It also helped to secure the place of baseball as one of the most popular sports in the country. With cricket's decline in America, it gained popularity within Britain and its empire, leading to the establishment of an appreciation for the game in Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, and the Indian subcontinent. Even though cricket became more centralized and national teams slowly began to develop in Britain and its empire, there was nothing like that in America. Instead, cricket eventually became dominated at that time by a single team, the Philadelphia Cricket Team. Playing first-class cricket and representing Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, from 1878 through 1913. Over its 35 years, the team played in 88 first-class cricket matches. Of those, 29 were won, 45 were lost, and 13 were drawn, and one game was abandoned before completion. During this time, the Philadelphians played against the best teams and players that England and Australia had to offer. The quote-unquote gentlemen of Philadelphia were able to win at least a match or two from all of the foreign sides that visited. They beat Australia's test team by an innings on two separate occasions, in 1893 and 1896. Throughout their first-class period of play, the Philadelphians produced such cricketers as Bart King, George Patterson, and John Lester. John Barton Bart King, 19th of October 1873 through the 17th of October 1965, was an American cricketer active in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. A skilled batsman who proved his worth as a bowler, King set numerous records in the continent of North America during his career and led the first-class bowling averages in England in 1908. He successfully competed against the best cricketers from England and Australia. King was the dominant bowler on his team when it toured in England in 1897, 1903, and 1908. He dismissed batsmen with his unique delivery, which he called the angler, and helped develop the art of swing bowling in the sport. Sir Pelham Warner described Bart King as, quote-unquote, one of the finest bowlers of all time, and Donald Bradman called him America's greatest cricketing son. King is generally considered the most skilled American to ever play cricket. The success of the team and of the sport itself in Philadelphia was the result of broad support from the citizens of the city. These matches were also widely reported in local newspapers, helping to promote the sport of cricket in the region. Unlike the other regional pockets of cricket enthusiasm across the country, the sport maintained its popularity for almost 2 decades into the 20th century. With victories against English and Australian national teams, the gentlemen of Philadelphia were noted for their skill, but this was to change. Although the gentlemen did much for cricket in America, there was no victory or single event to help put American cricket into the international rankings of the game. People started to fill their time by playing golf and tennis. A key incident that virtually stopped any further growth of cricket internationally for America was the foundation of the Imperial Cricket Council in 1909, now called the International Cricket Council. As the title implied, the Imperial Conference was for countries and territories within the British Empire to play and cultivate and encourage the game of cricket. America, having declared independence centuries before, was excluded from the council, not joining in any form until 1965, decades after cricket was widely considered dead in the United States of America. With the advent of the First World War, it sealed the fate of cricket in America because no one had time to play games with a great war on the European front. After the war, cricket became even more popular in the Commonwealth and eventually the independent nations after the Second World War. But still, in America, it was a relic of the past. Bart King's own Belmont Cricket Club sold its grounds and disbanded in 1914. The sport slowly declined in Philadelphia, and the last first-class match in the city was played in 1913. The game was still being played at Hartford College at least as late in 1925, when a team from the college visited England and played a number of English public schools. Cricket disappeared so completely that most Americans don't even know what the game is. They merely think of the insect when it's mentioned to them. Those who do know of the sport can't play it properly because there's no adequate facilities to host games, or enough players outside of friends or relations. It has also been said that the gigantic sports interests in America have an unholy alliance to keep any other sports suppressed. Sports are, after all, big business in America. American football, which itself is a variation of rugby, baseball, basketball, and ice hockey keep all other sports out of mainstream attention because of potential lost revenue. Cricket may never attain the level of national importance it once had, or the international level of skill it once had. But there is hope. Immigrants from cricket nations, including England, Australia, and New Zealand, are bringing back cricket to the United States of America. It might be generations before we someday see an American force behind cricket like it was destined to be so many years ago.